Okay, it is 6:01 p.m. on Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. Let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the Common Council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Wego.
Here.
Varga.
Here.
Middleton.
Here.
Crowder.
Here.
Ramani.
Present.
In front of you are the minutes from our last meeting on September 27th. Were there any changes or corrections? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Jennifer, seconded by Jenny. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Next up is a public hearing for the 2023 budget. You're probably going to say, wait a minute, I thought we already did the public hearing for the 2023 budget. And we found some numbers that were incorrect on there, so we're kind of redoing that, if you will. Rosie, I don't know if you want to say any more about that or not, but
Not particularly about that.
Yeah.
It's the same one we had before.
yeah, there was a miscalculation in there, so that's all it is. So we will, again, recess the Common Council meeting and open up the public hearing on the 2023 budget. Are there any comments about the 2023 budget? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and restart the Common Council meeting. That budget will be up for second reading and final approval at our next meeting, right?
Right. We do have to.
Yes, I'm gonna do that next. So, along with that idea, as you will remember, as I'll kind of explain again, 2 years ago, we went and we did an excess levy appeal. The state sets a certain growth quotient on our budget every year. Again, I know most of you know this already, but for the public's sake, the state sets a certain growth quotient on our budget every single year that says it doesn't matter if you're a growing or a dying community. It doesn't matter if you have 1,000 or 5,000 or 50,000 or 500,000 people. Here is how much you can grow your budget. And for those communities that are shrinking, that's a really good thing because it's always usually higher than what their growth rate is. For communities like us that are growing, that creates a challenge because we're continuing to grow our community, grow our population, grow our space, if you will, our properties and things like that, and yet our budget is not keeping up with that growth. So when it comes to public safety and parks and streets and things like that, we don't have the resources it takes in order to get to that point. So 2 years ago, we did an excess levy appeal. Again, keep in mind, it really didn't influence taxes at all because tax rates still dropped even with the excess levy appeal. I anticipate it's the same thing with this year's. But with the excess levy appeal, we have to have approval from the Common Council in a resolution form. And it's the petition to appeal for that increase. It ends up actually basically giving us an additional $102,000 for this coming year's budget. We actually built it into the budget already with the anticipation that we'd be approved of this because 2 years ago we were approved. Again, our growth is at a higher rate than the actual growth of the levy itself. Okay. So again, as you know, for the last 8 years now, our tax rate for the city of Columbia City has dropped. And even with the excess levy appeal, it continues to drop. So with that being said, any questions regarding that? We're appealing on the basis of a 3-year growth factor. So basically they take what your growth is and average it over the 3 years and they say, are you above or below what the average factor is? If you're above, then you can appeal for the additional levy, the additional levy growth. Keep in mind, if we don't grow our levy by that much, we lose it forever. So that's kind of the counterbalances. You either get it or you don't get it, and if you don't get it, you don't get to grow on it in future years. So.
And once it is approved, like the one we got a couple years ago, it continues on every year. Plus this.
So we don't regress effectively, is the point. So, questions regarding that? Okay. Does this have to be approved in resolution form?
Yeah, they just have it.
Okay. Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the petition to appeal for an increase above the maximum levy for the 3-year growth factor?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tad, seconded by Jenny. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Thank you. I'll pass that around for you to sign off on. Again, that's kind of all-encompassing in the budget piece, but that's something we need to do because of that difference in state growth versus our growth. It's nice to be a leader, but create some extra steps for us. So, next up is the rezone for A. Shively at 575 East Business 30. Nathan's here again. You remember we took this under consideration at the last meeting and approved it on first reading last time. So it's up for second reading today. Before we go to the ordinance, are there any questions of Nathan regarding A. Shively? Okay. Then do I have a motion to read ordinance 2022-27 by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dan, seconded by Jenny. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. Tad?
Add.
It is unanimous. Please read ordinance number 2022-27 by title only.
Ordinance 2022-27, an ordinance amending the zoning classification of certain property from the R2 two-family residential district to the GB general business district.
So if there's no questions about that, Nathan, you have any additional information the council needs to know about?
I do not.
Okay. This was given a favorable pass, correct, from the planning commission?
Yes.
Yes, unanimous, I believe. Okay, any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2022-27 on second and final reading?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jennifer, seconded by Tad. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Next, we'll move on to the Bowen Center rezone. Do I have a motion to read ordinance number 2022-28 by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jenny, seconded by Dan. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Please read ordinance number 2022-28 by title only.
Ordinance 2022-28, an ordinance amending a zoning classification of certain property from R1 single-family residential district to the GB general business district.
Nathan, any new information?
No.
Any questions from the Common Council about the Bowen Center's rezone? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve ordinance 2022-28 on second and final reading?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jennifer, seconded by Walt. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Nathan, you're next. I'm sorry, Espic's next, isn't it? I apologize.
I'm here for it.
You can just hang out there for a second, because we've already read Espic at one time, haven't we? Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's his first.
Espic's first reading? Okay, so you are next. Okay, very good. Okay, I'm sorry. There's too much stuff coming from the Joint Planning and Building Department today.
I am the agenda.
You are the agenda. Okay, so we have a rezone, a favorable recommendation of a rezone for Espic Printing from R3 multifamily to GB. Nathan.
Thank you, Nathan Bilger, Planning Director for the record. So this is a request for Espic Printing. They own one lot out on 200 East, which is part of Eagle Glen. They own an adjacent lot as well. The first lot is zoned GB. The adjacent lot is zoned R3. That's basically, from what I can tell, was a carryover from not knowing what to do with it when it was originally zoned as part of Eagle Glen. Espic would like to construct a commercial building on the main lot and then rezone the adjacent lot from R3 to GB in order to allow for then to put a parking lot, maybe a future extension of a commercial building, they're not sure. But it essentially, just as we saw with the last two cases, a matter of making the entire property under one ownership, one zoning classification. So this does come to you with a favorable recommendation from the planning commission. There was some discussion on this property about some drainage concerns, and the planning commission's feeling is that those can be tackled with the development and approval process whenever that commercial building moves forward. Any questions?
I guess the only question I had in looking at this, Nathan, was regarding because that's a residential property right next door, correct? To the wooded lots, Mr. Kissinger?
Yes.
Yes, to the
Okay.
south are two family dwellings, and south of that is a long-standing single-family dwelling.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question is did any of the residents there, basically on both sides of the property, with them being residential on both sides, were there any concerns from the residents on both sides or across the street?
The drainage concern came from one of the residents to the south.
Okay,
But other than that, we've received no comment.
okay.
That just seems like a strange spot in between, like, two basically residential dwellings. I assume he wants to put his print shop there, is that right, or is he gonna?
Mhm. I mean, the one thing is there is that the home that's owned by Passages just to the north, east or west, north or west, somewhere, wherever that ends up falling. In both. Is already GB. Everything to the road is GB there already, but it just,
home.
yeah, yes.
It looks like a
Yeah.
residential house.
Yeah, because a multi, well, I don't know how a Passages home falls. How does that fall? Because it's in GB, but,
It's generally you don't try and make a distinction between homes.
yeah.
So let's call it single-family dwellings.
Okay.
Single-family dwellings are allowed by right in GB.
In GB, okay.
Nathan, there's 3 lots there that's bordered out, you may say. The bottom left-hand corner is kind of a funny looking lot. That one's basically where the wetlands is, right? So no development can be put there anyways.
Correct. There are two separate parcels, one lot, that are involved in this rezoning.
Mhm.
The western one is part of that wetland, and that wetland does extend over into the golf course area and then farther south under the line Walt just mentioned as well. So
Gotcha.
the effective commercial area really is only the front part.
Just the front portion, okay.
Yep.
Because his first property is already zoned GB, right? So it's really just the two, and you said one of the 2 lots is basically wetland, so it's gonna take a lot of mitigation to actually build on.
Yeah, it's this
Yeah,
one right
this
there.
one is mainly wetland, yep. Oops, I messed it up, I'm sorry.
So this one's already GB?
Yes.
Yeah,
Just making sure I'm following
Yeah.
along.
So where the main print shop is gonna be,
that is already GB.
it's already GB, yeah.
The, whatever polygonal shaped pieces here, the 2 parcels are what's in question. That also is where the old railroad right of way was, which
Mm.
complicates development as well.
Gotcha.
That's why, that's another reason that he's not expecting to actually build on it. Also, if you do have questions for the applicant, he's out of town tonight, so if you
Yeah.
have questions, we can relay those for second.
And historically, obviously, we've trusted the planning commission to make good decisions before it comes to us, but certainly, council, if you have questions about things or anything like that, again, it's your approval process, so.
I'm kind of curious, like, how many cars does he foresee coming in and out daily? Just because we have a lot there with all that, the condos and the apartments coming in, plus all the traffic for Eagle Glen alone, and then the golf course too. Like, that road's very busy.
A good question, being a print shop, our parking calculation, which is not what you're asking, it treats it like any other retail operation, and it's a fairly small building. But the actual number coming and going, I do not have.
Do you have any sense of how much of that, the combined parcels, he's actually planning to develop? a lot of trees.
I think what they have, right now, they have cut in most of the trees where they're building are currently gone
Oh, so this would not be an accurate,
now. No.
Depiction.
Probably close to 2 acres between those 3 lots.
I need this back, but this is the sketch plan that they provided, and as you'll see on that, the entire current plan is to use only the existing DB parcel. So this rezoning would be the future parking area and future expansion, but again, because of the nature, historic nature of this subject parcel, it's going to be hard to actually build on other than state parking.
I think that's one of the reasons the plan commission, when we looked at it, you know, that was one of the stronger considerations, because we were kind of asking the same questions you all are asking. But when we actually looked at how it's going to be laid out and what was actually buildable, because of the wetlands back behind it, there's not a whole lot you could do with it. So that's kind of what we found out there. You know, there's primarily parking going to be there. Yeah, okay, you got a couple condos right next to it, you know, 2 family dwellings there. You know, we kind of completed looking at that too, but there's just not a whole lot you could do with that, except maybe make it a parking spot. Because we kind of looked at that same thing, which kind of question.
But there was parking on that, already on that drawing then,
Correct.
right?
so,
So if he expands that building on, say, backward towards the west, then he could shift parking to the south on this subject lot now. Could be done leaving it R3 because accessory parking can be done on adjacent residential lot. But again, it makes sense to combine everything under a single zoning as a single ownership.
How long has the other lot been general business? The lot, these plan on building on?
As far as I know, the general business lots were zoned that as part of the Eagle Plan.
Is there a preference of the council?
I know personally, I'm on the fence of, but
I'm really on the fence with it.
I mean, if it's not gonna be used for anything initially.
Are you talking about both parcels, one parcel, what?
Well, yeah, I would say both parcels, yeah. And that's why I brought up the question of how long has it been general business? Because it just seems like an odd, and again, I'm
It
not on
seems
the
like
commission or
spot
anything.
zoning is what it seems like.
To be fair, and again, I'm not trying to convince you one way or another, but Peak Performance has been out there for quite some time in
Yeah.
the business.
Yeah.
Right on that corner, right?
Yeah.
Understand though, the further in you get, the more residential you
Yeah.
get and stuff,
Yeah.
so.
You gotta draw the line somewhere.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. I mean, to be fair, we did that, I don't know that it was in this group or the previous group, but with Casey's General Store that was trying to go in at North and Main, you know, we kind of have delineated
Mhm.
everything from there to downtown is basically residential kind of a thing, but, what, if I'm picking up what you're putting down, it would be that it'd probably be worthwhile to have the owner or the individual who owns the property to come to talk to council about this, am I?
I
Yes.
also
Hearing-
would like to go have a look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay.
It's Mark, right?
yeah, it's Mark, yeah, yeah.
I move we table this.
Okay, I have a motion to move, or to
Second.
table, I'm sorry. And second by Tad, I think. I guess all those in favor of tabling till the next meeting? Show usual sign. Okay, any opposed? Okay, 3-2, we'll table it to the next meeting. And if we could have Mr. Espic at the next meting, that would be great. Walt will be running it, so, because I won't be here, so.
Sorry, Walt.
So you guys- I didn't vote on that one, just for the record. Okay,
Mayor, really, I won't be here though either that meeting.
okay. So,
Meeting after?
so if,
I mean, I would trust your decision.
sure. So here's what, okay, so let's role play this for a second, okay? So if we have it at the next meeting and the vote remains, let's say 2-2, then it does not pass, it basically gets tied. So it basically it doesn't move forward, okay? That doesn't necessarily preclude it from coming up at the following meeting and coming up again, and, again, in a normal situation, if it's a 2-2 tie, the mayor gets to cast the tie-breaking vote. If the mayor's not here, no one can cast the tie-breaking vote, so.
I just wanted to
So,
double check.
just to role play that out a little bit, so,
We could put you on Google.
yeah, we should, no, let's see, what, Tuesday, no, no, I will not be available on Tuesday night, I apologize. So, anyways, with that being said, so I guess my question to you, and I don't know how quickly Mr. Espic wants to move forward with this.
And again, his current plan is independent of this,
Okay.
the zoning for this lot, so I don't think it matters terribly much.
So, would the council want to wait until the November 11th, or whatever, is it not 11th, 9th?
Yeah, we may not have one then,
The first meeting in November, would the council want him to come to that meeting rather than the next meeting in October? Yes?
I think
Yes.
that
I think that makes sense.
That had more bearing.
So everyone will be here for that first meeting in November?
but we may
I
not.
think that's fair.
Well,
We got the benefit.
but they said, if there's an agenda, they wanted to have it,
So we
so,
want to focus on.
Him and the
yes.
person
To the 8th.
engineering and construction.
Okay. Nathan, just so you're aware, that is election day. That is our next meeting. I'm sorry, not our next meeting, the first meeting in November is election day. The council, at the last meeting, decided they were going to have the council meeting despite it being election day. So, I don't know what you want to do about that, but if you are able to be at the meeting, we would like you to be there.
So is that the 8th?
That is the 8th. Right? Tuesday the 8th?
Correct.
Tuesday the 8th.
Okay. I'm not sure if the applicant can make it.
Okay.
Doesn't really matter.
Well, if not,
I'm not-
then, well, I was gonna say, if not, if he cannot make it, let Rosie know and we'll put it on the next available when he's available
Yep.
agenda.
We will get with him, let you know.
I think it sounds like it would be beneficial to have him here to answer questions.
Okay.
Okay, so we have tabled that. So we will now move to the next item on the agenda, which is I'll get there. Zoning classification for the area of a potential expansion of the extraterritorial jurisdiction.
If you don't mind, if we could take the comp plan amendment first
Okay?
and then the rezoning.
Okay, so I gotta do it backwards. So, there we go. Okay, so if you go down to page 36 in your packet, that is the letter from Nathan on the comprehensive plan amendment. So, on page 37 is the actual plan commission staff report. So Nathan, do you want to explain kind of the nature of the comprehensive plan amendment?
Sure thing, thank you. So in the comprehensive plan, one of the recommendations is to expand extraterritorial jurisdiction area of the plan commission. And the mayor has been kind of pushing the plan commission to do this for some time, and finally this year, things seem to align for getting that moved forward. Earlier this year, the plan commission had defined what that area should look like. So we looked at what the pushing out boundaries, and that's what's reflected in the map that was handed out to you. So the blue dotted line, the northern line.
Page 39 of your packet.
The northern line doesn't really change, but especially to the south, the city limits already match up with the extraterritorial jurisdiction line at 200 South, and it makes sense to push that planning jurisdiction farther out. On the east side, it's also very close, push that out, and then on the west side, it's near but not up to that line, so again, pushing that out slightly. But particularly to the south, that was the biggest pushing factor. The ETJ dates from prior, best as we could tell, from prior to the county obtaining zoning. ETJs are kind of a protection when the county doesn't have zoning. Municipalities have a band around their corporate limits. So as far as we can tell, this dates prior to 1972. haven't been changed except for 2 minor line adjustments to match up with adjacent parcel lines. So this is the first real change in 50-some years that's proposed. In order to do this, there is several different pieces. One, we have to amend the comprehensive plan. Even though it's a recommendation of the comp plan did not include any additional area outside of the existing ETJ. So that's what's being proposed here, is to incorporate the proposed or possible ETJ area in the plan. Even if for some reason the ETJ doesn't actually get expanded, it doesn't hurt to plan for those areas in some fashion and include it. So what was proposed to the Planning Commission by staff were 3 different options of potential future land uses to include in the expanded area. And after discussion, the Planning Commission opted for what we term option 2, which basically calls out low-density residential south, 200 south, and then industrial in areas to the east at Gateway Industrial Park and near 100 south. Definitely things that are going to be very likely to happen and lines up with the zoning, existing zoning or again, anticipated uses. Option 3 was far more extensive and the Planning Commission felt like that was opening up too many questions about what was appropriate and so on at this juncture. So keep it simple with what we really truly expect and then come back later with additional amendments if need be to add in future land uses. So that is what is before you. Changes, amendments to the comprehensive plan require a resolution and resolution only. There's not a timeline. Unlike with rezoning, we have 90 days. Comp plans, if you need more time, more time.
So a couple of notes. Option 8A, item 8A of our comprehensive plan, sorry, 8D, I need to be able to read. 8D of our comprehensive plan talks about the expansion of our extraterritorial jurisdiction. As I've mentioned before, and I'll continue to say, this is not annexation. This is merely planning territory. That is all it is. It means that planning for the future for within the blue dotted line goes to the City Planning Commission, which by the way has at least 1 county representative on there, 2 county representatives on there. So the extraterritorial jurisdiction, or ETJ, is really there just purely for planning purposes for the future. Again, if it's been 50-some years since we've expanded this out, clearly our city has grown during that time frame. And as we look into the future, not that we have any plans, and by the way, for 30-some years, we have not annexed property in without the property owner wanting to be a part of the city, okay? This is not a land grab or anything like that. This is purely for planning purposes into the future, so that if there's so let's say for instance, at our current territorial boundary, which is the high school property, okay? If you go to the other side of 200 there, if there's, let's say, a proposed subdivision to go in there of some sort, I'm not saying there is, there's not. But if there was, at the current line right now, that subdivision, even though it would be coming into the city limits, would go to the County Plan Commission. Not to the City Plan Commission, even though they would become a part of the city, okay? So, unless annexation happened, of course. So my point is that it makes sense for us to look at the areas we've grown out into, and where we're getting close to that boundary line and expand that boundary line out a little bit, okay? At the end of the day, there have been multiple individuals outside of the city limits that have came to the City Plan Commission and have worked through the process and have gotten what they wanted from a planning perspective, because our City Plan Commission understands that there's county residents within our zoning zoning territory, okay? One other thing I want to mention as a part of that is on the east side of the city, you'll notice that there's kind of a carve out a little bit, and the reason for that is because we heard some concerns from the county commissioners about putting the industrial park into our planning territory. So we've specifically carved that out of our planning territory, just so you're aware. So if you follow US 30 out, you'll see that yes, we're really close, we are on the boundary line there, and we've kind of gone out a little bit, but we have not taken in the county industrial park into our planning territory. So we've tried to be respectful of that piece specifically. Also, as a part of this, Nathan, correct me if I'm wrong, but when the boundaries were determined, what was it determined on? Roads, rivers, things like that, streams?
As best as we could do, we use roads as boundaries, and then parcel lines as secondary. Currently, the current ETJ, the southwest line follows a power line easement, which is a little less than obvious to follow. This is following parcel lines, which will help address it.
Make it a little bit easier and more straightforward. So, ETJ gets a little bit into gray territory here, but at the end of the day, we're following our comprehensive plan. We've not done it in 50-some years, and we've reached the boundary on at least two sides of our extraterritorial jurisdiction. It makes a lot of sense to move forward. Had a unanimous approval of the City Planning Commission, including the two county representatives. Oh, that's right, only one was there, but it was unanimous in that regard, so. Questions about the zoning, I'm sorry, the amendment to the comprehensive plan on that? Okay, can I have a motion to read resolution number 2022-33 by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jennifer, seconded by Dan. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Please read resolution number 2022-33, 33 by title only.
Resolution 2022-33, a resolution amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the city of Plymouth City.
That's the correct resolution, right, Nathan? That you want?
Comprehensive plan, yes.
Yes. Yeah, because the other one establishes the zoning classifications, right? Okay. Any questions regarding this from the council? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve resolution number 2022-33?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tad, seconded by Jenny. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Okay, so next up is the changing of the zoning classifications, right, Nathan?
Yes, so with the plan map amendment, that opens up the door for requesting the county to approve the extraterritorial jurisdiction change, which at the county level is handled essentially like a rezoning because it's changing the county's zone map by saying we no longer will have jurisdiction over this new area, the expanded ETJ area. So that's going to be the next step. However, it makes sense for the city to be prepared if and when the county adopts their zone ordinance, say we no longer have jurisdiction over the city's expanded ETJ, the city should have some zoning in place so that there's not a gap between the zoning maps. And that's what this rezoning, zone map amendment, it's not a rezoning, it's an initial zoning, but it's still a zone map amendment, proposes to do. And unlike most rezonings where you actually have an area with actual geography, this is essentially a translation. So what is county zoning becomes city zoning. So the AG agricultural district in the county becomes A1, the RR rural residential becomes R1, GC general commercial becomes GP general business, IPM industrial park manufacturing becomes I1. So we can make that more extensive and just make this a standing ordinance if you want, but I don't foresee complaint changes to that frequently. So this is basically just intended for this initial, or this current request for the ETJ expansion. So the way the ordinance is worded is that if this is passed, it would not be effective until and unless the ETJ ordinance at the county level is approved. So again, trying to make sure we don't have a gap or overlap either way.
Questions?
Well, so that I assume that the county is looking at this also and reviewing this on their end?
The county planning commission will be as soon as the city initiates a zone map amendment with them. The commissioners have been made aware of this, and the mayor can explain.
Yes. I've met with all three commissioners to talk about our interest in doing this. I will say, I am not sure how they will end up voting. I got lukewarm responses. Please don't put that in the paper. But we will, but we'll see where they land on it. Obviously, I mean, it makes a lot of sense for everybody. We're at our boundary on two sides. It's been 50 years. Like, it's only planning. There's things like that, but we will. When it gets to that point, I will have a follow-up conversation with them. Yes.
From the planning perspective, generally the county is better suited to broad level, higher level zoning than the municipalities, because municipal zoning is typically more fine grained. And so this expansion of the ETJ allows the city to have that kind of detailed planning that, say, the county can't do. So I think at planning level, probably going to find favor because of that, but again, they're only an advisory body.
Well, and at the end of the day, I mean, nobody's zoning classification is changing. I mean, let me back up. The classification is changing, but their usage isn't changing. So we're effectively adopting what they're already doing. We're just changing it from, what'd you say, an ag district to an A1 district, which is agricultural. I mean, so we're just basically taking what they have and transposing it into ours.
Most of the differences are fairly minor.
Yep.
Fairly easy translation. The biggest difference that I find is actually dealing with confined feeding operations. AG in the county allows certain size CFOs by right. The city A1 requires special exceptions for all.
And I think in the past, we went through this before, and I think a lot of it is how it's perceived at the end result. You know, it's how it's presented to say there's nothing changing, but yet perception-wise, they may think, yeah, I'm not going to rezone my property, and that was never the intent to begin with. So I think, we just have to have a good plan of how to roll it out, you may say.
To be clear, Nathan, there is nobody that will have to come for a special exception in that ETJ. If we expand it out, no one will have to come for a special exception, will they?
No, anything that's existing would definitely be
Grandfathered in,
if
yes.
that term, legal non-conforming.
Yep.
It would only be if there's an expansion or a new use established.
Yeah. Which again, the staff would take into account the past precedents and all that kind of stuff.
Correct, that would figure
So,
into the range.
again, I still come back to, for all intents and purposes, nobody's gonna know the difference until they have to go and they build something on their property, and then that's when there'll be a little bit of a change. But again, we've approved, how many, you guys have been on planning commission for how long now? How many, outside the city limits but within our jurisdiction, I mean, that you guys have ever pushed back on or anything like that? I mean,
No,
so,
it's been justified.
yeah, so,
And the most common thing that we see in the county are minor plats, and the city's rules about subdivisions are different, and in most cases actually more favorable than the county's.
sure. So any questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to read ordinance number 2022-32 by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jenny, seconded by Tad. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Please read ordinance number ordinance number 2022-32. Is it ordinance or resolution?
This one's ordinance.
Okay, ordinance 2022-32 by title only.
Ordinance 2022-32, an ordinance establishing the zoning classification of areas located within an expansion of the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the City of Columbia City Advisory Plan Committee.
Any questions? Concerns? Okay, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2022-32 on first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jenny, seconded by Dan. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. We'll move that to second reading. Nathan, you have anything else you want to talk to us about?
One, I guess, kind of brief update. The county adopted, pending some minor changes, solar ordinance for the county. And in the interest of trying to keep things similar, and especially because solar could cross jurisdictional lines, I'm going to take essentially what the county proposed and propose it to the city plan commission in the near future. There's a couple of projects that the plan commission really wants to get done before the end of the year if they can. But expect solar to be coming forward either late this year or early next. Again, trying to be complementary and very similar to the county.
And how do you anticipate that impacting our solar park we currently have in the city limits?
Again, if there's anything that changes, all the development standards are already legal non-conforming. The only one that might be affected is the rules about decommissioning, which would be hopefully 20 or 30 years from now. So we'll see.
Okay. Questions of Nathan? You have anything else for us, Nathan?
That was the update. Is there any questions for me?
Do we have any, to do anything with the resolution?
We've done both of them.
Okay,
Yep.
number 32.
Yeah, we did 33 and then we did 32.
I got you.
Yep. Anything else? Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, I think that's outside of department head. Do we have anything else for council before we go to department heads? Okay, I will just quick make a mention of this. As you know, you requested that I put out a survey regarding chickens, and our ordinance specifically. We had 520 people take the survey. 28 people immediately disqualified themselves by saying they don't live in the city limits, because we specifically said we only want residents in the city limits. With all due respect to our friends in the county, we don't really need their opinion because they don't live here. So, with that being said, I put a couple notes on the front, on the first page there, which basically says, here's how it was created. We put the survey out on the, let's see, that's not right. I didn't put the first date the survey was put out, so I apologize for that. It was put out in late September. I don't remember the date. It was reshared on October 5th, and then the survey was closed at 9:30 a.m. on the 7th. Jenny had given me questions to put on there. I do want to just note a couple of things. First of all, keep in mind that the only people that took these are individuals with computer and with Facebook, because that's how we shared it. Second of all, they were self-identified residents. There's no way I could necessarily say, this is your address, you belong here. Okay, so again, keep that in mind. They're self-identified residents. And also keep in mind, they could only take the survey once per device, but there's nothing that prohibited them to go to different devices and take it multiple times. That's on any online survey, they can do that. So a couple things I'd say about that, okay?
Originally, you posted it September 30th.
Thank you, September 30th, yes. Thank you. So, just going through some of those, I'll just go through them if you're okay with that. I'll go through some of these things. Survey results, we had a little over 25% that said no, I don't support, 37% that said yes, I support with limitations, and 36% that said yes, I support, which those were different options, obviously. There were multiple comments on there. I put the comments on. I'm not going to read through all those because it would be here for another hour. On each of these questions, I won't go through the comments. But if an ordinance is approved, how many, this is the next question, if ordinance is approved, how many chickens should be permitted per residence? The majority of votes went to 3 to 4, with second place being 5 to 7, 8 to 10. Seems a little extreme to me, but that's just my personal commentary. And then 10 plus and 1 to 2 are both in about the same range. There was also a few people that wanted to see the world burn and put unlimited. So I don't know about that, but that's my own opinion. I'm sorry, I should not commentate. Next question, should roosters be allowed to be raised or owned in the city? 63, almost 64% said no to that question. Next question, if chickens are allowed to be owned or raised in the city, which of the following limitations should the city council mandate? They could select as many as they like. 86% said they should have to own chicken coops or chicken quarters. 80% said they should have fences to keep the chickens on the residents' property. 41, almost 42% said permits to own or raise chickens. 23% ID tags with the owner information, and 4% that said none of the above. You have more comments there. More comments.
Put a sweater on the chicken.
More questions. Chicken sweater. So I think that was the last question, except for those that when they said no to the second question, I'm sorry, which is, do you support allowing chickens to be raised in the city? If they said no, I don't support, then they were redirected to a final question that said, why not? Give us the reason or the comments of why you don't think chickens should be allowed to be raised in the city. I put those comments in there as well. I did not give them a multiple choice because I didn't want to even imagine what they would have to say or not say. So I just made it a comment so they could comment whatever they thought, okay? So that is the survey results that I have up to this point. I know, I see Melanie in the audience. I know that she had said that the Facebook algorithm she didn't see it. You were there too? Okay, so there were a couple people, or there were multiple people potentially that didn't see it and weren't able to fill it out. Again, I tried to keep it open for a time frame so I could get the results done so that you can see it. But again, 500 people, that if assuming that each of those are one individual, which take it for what it is, if it is an assumption, but if so, that's about 5% of the total population. So, I want you to digest this information before we decide how to move forward. Again, as always, strongly recommend you having conversations with neighbors and residents within your districts, certainly. I know we all have probably opinions on where we should be, where we should land on this stuff. But I wanted to get you the results and the comments so you could process through those, see what you think about those, and go from there. Okay. Department head reports, Alina, we're going to start with you.
Okay, so I'm Alina Hauser, and I'm a junior in the Mayor's Youth Council. And the last time we met was September. That was our monthly meeting. So we started by all meeting here, and we talked with the mayor about city updates and any questions we had. And then each year we focus on either city, county, or state government, and this year it's county government, and because it's the beginning of the year, we started learning about that. So we did some activities to kind of learn about the county government. Then we went to lunch, and then our service project for the month was landscaping the Columbia City sign over by the Little Turtle.
Questions of Alina? Thank you. Mike?
We started our environment monitoring, be our last one for this year. First sample was sent in on Monday. Pre-treatment's been sampling all the industries for the last quarter of this year. Received our draft permit for our treatment plant for next year. It'll take effect in January. I've been reviewing that. We have a comment period until November 4th or 5th, which I have comments, so I will be getting back with on a few items that I disagree with. We'll just go with that. First main project to meet with the engineer and the pump consultants on the 19th. to look at Main Street and Jefferson and get an idea where we move forward from there. The other two projects, I have no updates on them. I'm still waiting on information back on the CSO for the electrical engineer to put their information on the prints and come back with a 90% design and then estimated cost. The good note on that is they did say, I think I told you this before, that I don't believe the project will have to go to bid. I think we'll be able to have it quoted because it's going to be low enough in price. So I don't know what that price is, but sounds pretty good to begin with. So, and Columbia Shores, they were supposed to start this week as far as the pumps and the control panel. They have not started on that yet. So it's a small project, so it just keeps getting pushed down their list, I'm sure, but eventually it'll get done. That's all I have, unless you have questions.
Questions of Mike? Thank you, Mike. Tom?
Well, the drama of the engine repair continues. There's, again, it's in the wiring. They've got it tracked down. They believe it's a node in the multiplex system on the truck. They tapped on it the other day and it went to no interlock. Got it fired back up, tapped on it again. It went to no interlock. Now they can't, when they tap on it, get it to do it. So they think it's in the node. Still working on it. Still keep you posted as we get developments. 101 had an issue. In the meantime, the air actuator, there's a little piston air actuator that engages the pump from the transmission. Again, it's O-rings, 10-cent O-rings. You can get it at Ace Hardware. Failed and caused that to go bad, so they got that repaired. And I told you we did a driver operator general for the newer full-time guys and some of the volunteers that wanted to go through it. Everything was going good, and then 107, the aerial truck was down by Tad's house, passing another vehicle, and Tad has a damaged mailbox now. So apologize, Tad.
That's right.
I'm gonna blame a plow truck. It's
Well,
Kelly's
paying
fault.
my utility bills because I didn't get them.
That's right. I'm sure that's the reason.
I'm gonna blame a plow truck. Kelly's not here, so. Other than that, there's nothing going on.
That was your driver's training class.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yes, it was a driver's training class to boot.
Questions of Tom? Tad, the fire department sincerely apologizes for your mailbox.
That's right. I'll get over it.
Mike?
We are doing 3 new services this week, and also working up at the Eagle Park with their drainage, working on them.
Questions of Mike? Thank you. Mark?
I'd like to thank the Water Department for working out there at Eagle Park today and previous days, working on our drainage issues with manhole covers that are missing. They've replaced some of them, so I know it's not really fun, but I appreciate them doing that. We did start taking down the chain link fence at Eagle Park, which will come down probably this fall. We do have Halloween tickets for sale in our office for the mother-son Halloween party. And so far we've sold like 160 of the 300, so there's still plenty left. I want to thank Kyle Wegold. He's been working on updating our park website. It looks great. I know he's not done it all, but it definitely is promising. He did a great job with the one for the Aquatic Center, but he's really working on getting our park one to look like that too. And so it's kind of cool to see that transforming. The ice rink, the synthetic ice rink, opens December 2nd. We've got 2 groups volunteering this week in our trails, REMC, and I think Youth Council's coming out Thursday. So appreciate them doing that. And we did get some good news, which I know I wrote in my weekly update. We did get a grant from DNR, and that grant will go to Eagle Park to help do our first phase of development there. That includes the indoor or in-ground skate park, sidewalks, trellis swing, and some 4 pickleball courts. So excited to get started on that next year and hopefully have that completed by a year from now.
Question of Mark? Thank you. Chip?
Earlier tonight, Porter Works approved engineering to provide sewer to 100 South and 300 East out by Sailrite. We're working with the county RDC on that. And they also approved engineering services to provide water to Northern Heights. We're working on a deal with the school to get that taken care of, hopefully in the future. Westgate is completed the first phase, and we're doing ribbon cutting this next week. And next week I'll be in Louisville taking an economic development course.
Question to Chip. Thank you. Marcia.
Nothing.
Rosie.
Nothing.
A couple things for your information. I had the opportunity this last Wednesday to go over to Whitco Career Academy and speak with some of the students over there just about what I do, what my job entails, all those kind of things. They had great questions and seemed to be really engaged, and so appreciate the opportunity to go do that. We did have a kind of preliminary meeting regarding renewal for insurance rates for our employees on Thursday. We're still waiting for a couple of last minute things to come in, but we anticipate we're going to get those rates coming in very shortly. And they look to be fairly favorable, which is good. So I think that's a good thing, and that some of that may be because of the institution of the clinic and how that is helping. And also some of that is that the majority of our retirees over the last couple of years have chosen one of the other options rather than staying on our insurance, which actually helps drive down those costs. So appreciate the council, I believe, approved those different options for retirees to take, so appreciate the council doing that. Yesterday, Sean and Chip and I had some conversations with City Ford and City Chevy about the opportunity to maybe put some electric car charging stations in some areas around the community. We're still investigating what that looks like, what that partnership looks like, things like that, but we're kind of investigating that right now, so I don't have a whole lot for you except to say we're looking into that. We know that the electric vehicles are starting to expand, and there's more of them around, and so if that can be a draw or a driver to bring drivers and bring visitors to our downtown or to our community, I think that's a good thing to do, even if it's for 30 minutes. We also, Rosie and I met with Baker Tilly to kind of go over the draft comprehensive rate evaluation that we talked about doing so that we have a 3-year plan rather than just waiting to the last minute and doing increases or whatever the case is. So there's some things that they're tweaking right now on that. I anticipate probably within the next couple of weeks we'll get the final back, and then that'll be presented to you all, okay? Let's see, what else do I need to let you know about? We have some youth council meeting on Thursday as mentioned. We have some ribbon cuttings along the way. Next Thursday morning, one of the elementary schools, I don't know which one, I don't have that written down, but one of the elementary schools will be visiting City Hall, so we'll have lots of children in lots of different places, which is great, it's enjoyable, but if next time you come, these seats are all messed up and stuff, that's probably why. So, but it's a fun time, and I always enjoy it because something that is very apropos for the moment, chickens, is usually what I bring to them to have conversations and debate about. And it always seems to be a really good, lively discussion, something they can connect to, and so that's always kind of a nice thing. And just a reminder that next Friday, I'll be heading out on vacation. We'll be gone that last week, so the last council meeting, board of council meeting of this month, Walt will be leaving. So I think that's it. Outside of ICOM, obviously, I'm sorry, not ICOM, AIM Ideas Summit is coming up on that first week of November. So if you're planning to attend, that's our annual Cities and Towns Conference that we go to every year, or some of us go to every year. So if you're interested in, carpooling or whatever, obviously get that arranged and stuff. So with that being said, CIP committee meetings after the council meeting. Walt.
The regional sewer district is progressing. I think it's been almost 3 years now from where we started to where we're at. But we can see daylight at the end of the tunnel. Had a lot of things that we had to work through. And I'll give you a more permanent update here, hopefully within the next 30 to 60 days. for that regional sewer district. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Walt. Dan?
Some of the probably raise more questions than answers, but I think we'd like to have the city look into naming a street out there where the Willie Community Foundation is.
Yep.
Where that road that stands out down along State Road 205. It's not proper to give that a State Road 205 address. So consideration of the city, if the city's willing to accept that as a city street. And also strongly consider naming the street going back to Morrison Park. You know, again, if that's something that would be advisable to address, because again, we don't have EMTs that are from Columbia City anymore, and to know where the kids' water park or the
Splash pads,
pavilion,
yep.
the splash pads, the pavilions, you know, if we could properly address those, and that might be a beneficial, plus it gives the park more of identity than just off the State Road 205, because once since that road extension intersects that, it's probably nice to have a name for the road going back through the park.
Sure.
So I'd like to.
So I have, just for your information on that, Marcia and I have had some conversations about that. By state statute, I do have the authority to basically do by, what's it called? Executive what? Order, there you go. I do have the ability by executive order to name roads and streets in the city limits. So I probably will be doing that in that form and method because the state does prescribe kind of a method on how to do that. In the past, as you're well aware, it's usually been a developer will come and they're developing all these streets and they say, this is the name of this street and this is the name of this cul-de-sac and things like that. And we say, yeah, okay, that's fine. But because this is already kind of pre-established streets, keep in mind that the road in which the Community Foundation will be built on, or is being built on, if you will, that was a road that actually was created out of our 205 project in 2012 or 13, 14, something like that. So that was actually a new road that was built as an 80-20 project, 80% feds, 20% local. So I probably will be going down that route because just looking in the past, there's
Like I say, things are starting to develop.
Sure.
And they're asking for addresses,
Okay.
and I'm like,
gotcha.
always kind of really.
I'm perfectly fine with getting on that and stuff. Marcia and I just talked about it before Board of Works, so I'll prepare something for that. So,
Appreciate that.
yeah, thanks, Dan. Jennifer?
Okay, I have a couple of things.
Sure.
I realize we still have Halloween coming up, but it's still
Oh,
kind of
no.
warm out. So, just a reminder to the citizens of Columbia City that the municipal lighting contest will be happening again this year. And you might want to start getting your lights out now while it's warm and maybe not raining and miserable. Judging for that will start sometime after the 25th of November and will conclude well in advance of Christmas.
Great.
So that's something to keep in mind. There's prizes for the different districts. I don't know, will the districts stay what they are now?
Yes, because the districts don't go into effect officially until January, until after the election officially speaking.
Okay.
Well,
We don't
hold
want
on.
to do it off district, so don't we do it down Main Street and down Denver?
No, we do it by district.
No, we do it by
Oh, you do
council
do it,
district,
yes.
yeah, so.
Which usually involves a call from me to one of you
Yeah.
saying, is this yours?
So here's my suggestion is because from an election standpoint, those new districts take place starting January 1 of '23. My suggestion is you take, this year you go to the current districts, next year we go to the new districts.
Good.
That's my suggestion.
Next year it'll probably take me twice as long to do. So there's that, and then I also wanted to put it out there that the Christmas parade will be happening again this year on Friday, the 25th of November at 6 p.m. in downtown Columbia City, and Santa's house will be open this year.
Great, thank you. Tad?
I don't know.
Jenny?
I have nothing.
Press? Audience? Okay, and we'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Mike Show Parkway.
Mike Schuler, Parkway.
I was not.